Beloveds, did you know that the soul of all life is your own soul? Do you have an idea of what your destiny is? We're going to talk about goals today, life goals, soul goals. All right. So stay tuned. We'll be back and we'll get into it. Well, welcome back, beloveds. Thank you for your patience. This is Oracle Deborah with the Oracle Deborah podcast on YouTube, and we're going to talk about our goals today and what it means when we say the soul of all life is your own soul. We're going to talk about that today. But first, please like, please share, and please subscribe. I am chilling today, so just kind of ignore my little relaxed state right now. But let's get into it. The chapter, I'm going to continue reading the from the book of the three magic words. We're in the chapter about intuition, and a subtitle of this is called Our Goals. I know the topic yesterday was a little dense because it talked about truth versus delusion, and it got into the insanity piece. But that's necessary. It may not be the most exciting thing to hear, but you know what, with mental health being thrown around, the topic all over the place, I can't imagine that someone will not have get some benefit from that. Okay. But today we're going to be a little more inspirational about our goals. And I want to also piggyback a little bit on what is the difference between love and lust. Okay. All right. So let's get started. It is our intuitive perception of the laws of the universe that reveals to us God as He is, or in some cases, she is. We need only put all wishful thinking aside, save the desire to know the truth. Expectation and desire will light the way. In the quietness of our meditations, the inner eye will see, and the inner ear will hear. And the truth shall be revealed to us, and the truth shall what? Make us free. We shall sense the future dwelling within us, know the thoughts and hopes of all mankind. Know that the way we lived our yesterday has determined our today. Know that the way we live our today will determine our tomorrow. True intuition will be ours, the light that never was on land or sea. The soul of all life is your own soul. Wherever your eye falls, it sees nothing but a reflection of yourself. The mighty mind in which you live is all things to all life and all places, and it is the same to you. You are fashioned from the intelligence of God. You are one with the intelligence of God. You need only rub the mote from your eye, clear the wax from your ear, and there becomes apparent a universe which has cradled you in everlasting arms, a universe that responds to your every mood and every desire. We know where the path leads, ever upwards to a oneness with God. We know that the purpose of life is a constantly expanding consciousness, and we know it is within our power to expand our consciousness to encompass all of the life about us. We know that this is the secret of Jesus, that He saw the universe dwelling within Him, that He intuitively perceived the laws that made up His being. This is our destiny. We may aid it or obstruct it as we wish, but we cannot stop it from eventually arriving. We may use it to fill our lives with good, or we may use it to fill our lives with error and evil. It matters not to the subconscious mind, for every soul who falls behind, another steps ahead. He who seeks will find. He who abandons the search as hopeless will find at once a hopeless life. It is a question of courage and effort, a question of desire. We either work in accord with the power within us, or by opposing it, destroy ourselves. It is for each man or woman to decide. We seek wisdom and knowledge. Our goals are power and pity, wealth with charity, health with temperance, love without lust. We accede to these goals through no moral pressure. They are true goals because they are truth. We are embarking on man's greatest age, an age wherein the first movements are apparent to banish disease and suffering and poverty from the face of the earth, an age wherein the brotherhood of man finally will arrive in all its magnificent peace and harmony. Ashe. All right, beloveds, we're going to get into this because I'm going to just highlight the things that I highlighted here. And then if I feel like I want to reread some certain sections, I'll do that as well. So the first thing, it says, put your wishful thinking aside, right? So I feel like that is when we start losing control of our conscious and focusing too much on the subconscious. The subconscious has to be controlled. Otherwise, we lose sight of consciousness, if you will, reality. All right. Expectation and desire will light the way. And light the way of what? It is our intuitive perception of the laws of the universe that reveals to us God as He is, or again, she is. Replace these, the he, she, like, do that, okay? I'm just really reading from the book, and the book is very old, so it is written more in a paternalistic, viewpoint, but we know the maternal mother, the I don't know how to put it. Spirit is not just paternal, it is maternal. All life comes through, where, right? The dark primordial waters. All right. So do as you need. Like don't get tripped up on these pronouns. Okay. I think that's the word I was trying to think of. Don't get tripped up on this, right? Just in your mind, replace it with she or, however. All right. Now here's the key thing. It says that we know that we lived our yesterday has determined our today. So where we are today was determined by the thoughts and decisions that we made yesterday. And the way we live today will determine our tomorrow. All right. So when we're talking about our goals, that is really something to keep in mind. It's like, what am I doing today? How am I thinking today? What are my actions today? Because these are the things that are going to affect your tomorrow. So what do I want my tomorrow to look like? Can I, in a heated exchange, maybe temper some of the passion because I want to be able, to speak or communicate or whatever, because I want a better tomorrow than I'm having today, basically. All right. So this point is really on a very practical day-to-day level. What are you doing today that's going to affect your tomorrow? What are you looking at in your life today is what took place decisions you made, thoughts you thought yesterday. Okay, that's what you're looking at today. The soul of all life is your own soul. So wherever your eye falls and sees, it is just a reflection of yourself. You are one with the intelligence, the great intelligence, the creator, God, Buddha, Allah, whomever you serve, Yeshua. You are one with this intelligence, this incredible intelligence. You are fused as one. There's no such thing as separation. Okay. All right. There's no such thing as separation with God. I have to make that point because the first thing I thought is, then why are you delineating? Why are FBAs delineating? Because we are identifying who we are. That is why. You can't fuse us into being everybody and then doing all the work so everybody does, just gets the benefit. No, we're delineating in that respect for a reason. Okay. That thought like literally just popped in my head as soon as I said that. Okay, so let me just make that point clear. Anyway, moving on. We know that the purpose of life is a constantly expanding consciousness. This is our goal. This is our destiny, is to expand our consciousness, the perceived laws that made up. We know that the secret of Jesus, is how he perceived the laws with such depth, you know, which is why he was able to do the miracles, to heal the blind, to heal the lame, and turn water into wine. All these things. He had a very in-depth understanding, overstanding, a perception of who he was with God. That's why he said, "When you see me, you're seeing the Father." Okay. And I'm not interpreting, I know the Bible is esoteric. I say this over and over and over again. I am basing the scriptures or the references in this book, basically is really bringing those scriptures to light, is helping me for them to jump off the page, if you will, and use it in my day-to-day life. There's no point in reading the Bible if you can't use it when you're in the heat of passion, whatever that passion looks like, whether it is a confrontation or you're in a bedroom or, you are just discussing, current topics or dealing with your children, your spouse, your family, whatever. Like, this means nothing if you can't pause at some point and some word of wisdom come to mind to help you see clearer through the process. And I'm not saying this is easy. I tried to do this for many decades. Many of us have. You will go into a boardroom of a church and they will be, I'm telling you, acting a darn fool up in there. And you're like, you're supposed to be church folk. Like what happened here? I've seen blowout fights in the church amongst leaders. So this clearly is not an easy thing to do. But I have found that this particular text helps us do that. And this is why I'm referencing this. I know this sounds very churchy, maybe, to many of you, except for when I reference conscious mind and subconscious mind. That's, that kind of leads me back in the middle of, the spirituality thing. This isn't spirituality thing. This isn't Christianese. I promise you, it's not Christianese. But it is effective. And we are ruled by the law of cause and effect. That's what all of this is about. That's why it says what you did yesterday is affecting your today, and what you do today is going to affect your tomorrow. Cause and effect. Okay. All right, so let me move on because I don't want to get preachy. Right? So this is your destiny, is basically to arrive at a place where Jesus did, where Thoth did, where Tahuti, who is Thoth, did, So yeah, this is our destiny. For every soul who falls behind. Okay, I'm gonna backtrack there because this part is very important. It says we may aid or obstruct this destiny as we wish. It is our choice. It is our will. We have that choice to do so. But we cannot stop it from arriving. It's coming. It's here. So we can do whatever we want to do, however we want to do it, make whatever choice we want to make. It's still coming. There's nothing we can do about that. And then it says we may use this knowledge and intelligence. I won't even say not this intelligence to fill our lives with good, right? Or we may use it for error and evil. But either way, it doesn't matter to the subconscious mind because it says every soul that falls behind, another steps ahead. That there's no shortage of souls. None. And this is kind of like where the pride, the vanity, the ego, the conceit, all this comes in at. There's no shortage of souls. Make the most of this intelligence that is one with you and choose as you wish. You could either choose to do good or you could choose to do error or evil. Let's see. It goes on to say, he who seeks will find. He who abandons the search is hopeless will find at once a hopeless life. Again, cause and effect. It is a question of courage and effort, a question of desire. This is the part I found really inspirational. We either work in accord with the power within us or by opposing it, destroy ourselves, because that's the bottom line. This is where it gets really black and white, right? There's a lot of processing things going on in between, but at the end of the day, we can use it for good or we can end up destroying ourselves, and we don't want to do that, right? But you get to decide. I'm not telling you what to do. God is not telling you what to do. You get to choose. That is the beauty of our humanity. That is the beauty of us being soul beings. We get to choose. Now, it goes on to say, we seek wisdom and knowledge. Our goals are power with pity, wealth with charity, health with temperance, love without lust. And so we accede to these goals through no moral pressure. They are true goals because they are truth. We are embarking on man's greatest age, where we are, about to banish disease and suffering and poverty, just banish it from the face of the earth. And we're in this brotherhood, as it says, it finally will arrive in all its magnificent peace and harmony. This is why many people say, what is your goal in life? I want there to be, I want to cure hunger or poverty or sickness. Like someone asked me in a group meeting several years ago, if you can change the world, they asked this of everyone, if you could change the world, what would it be? And when it came around to me, I said, I would change the healthcare system. I would incorporate Reiki and other modalities, which actually science is doing that now, slowly but surely. They're incorporating it, even in physical therapy. So that was my answer. I would change the healthcare system, because health is wealth. Now, moving back to, and I gotta finish it because my doggy is waiting for me. Love without lust. I remember being in meditation and this topic came up, and the first thing came to my mind is, let's find out what the difference is, and the first thing I would normally do is go to my phone, go to my laptop, and start looking up definitions of lust, the etymology of it, of love. I did that with love. I looked up the etymology of love and realized that love is highly determined about how people interpret it to be in their own hearts. However, there is some groundwork to what love is, such as patience and kindness and goodness and mercy. The Bible talks about it being long suffering, right? Nobody really wants to hear that because they're like, you want me to suffer? It doesn't seem like it goes together. But that's essentially what it's doing. When you're patient with someone that you love, and many couples have essentially experienced this long suffering, or parents with their children, or children with their parents, right? So it does go hand in hand, because you're exercising patience and love, if you will. Now, what lust is, or what it is not, is patient. Lust is not patient. Lust wants to rush into things. And I got this from my meditation. I didn't even look it up, right? So you all can look it up and tell me if I'm on point or not. I didn't feel a need to do it because everything was just so on point. Lust, I think, is based out of fear, because it says, I got to do this now, right? It doesn't take time to get to know I won't say it, the person who is operating out of lust. It's not taking the time to get to know the people or the person that they have an interest in. And then it becomes a question that if it is just lust, what exactly is your interest? What are your intentions? So lust has a tendency to rush into things, usually with a motive in mind, right? I'm just here to get this one thing and get out. And generally leaves a path of destruction behind them. Broken relationships, broken hearts, disappointment, all of the low vibrational things is essentially what lust, that's what lust is built off of. Love builds. Love builds, stair step by stair, step by step. Love builds on its foundation, right? Whether it's with two people or two business owners or whatever, children playing together, families, whatever. Love builds. If you're in a family and there's constant friction, constant confrontation, constant competing, constant, arguments, constant flare-ups, that is not love. That is a semblance, of that's gaslighting is basically what it is, because you're saying, I love you and do these things because I love you. No. A spouse, whether it's a man or woman, hitting on another spouse and harming them is not love. And you can't convince anybody in their right mind that I'm doing this because I love you. No, you're not. I'm sure you're here by dog right now, right? He's really upset with me. We're gonna wrap this up without the meditation today, though. So I just wanted to double click on that part, is to focus on love without lust. And that is to get us to thinking how we are acting, how we are moving and shaking in the world around us. Are we operating out of love, or are we operating out of lust? Sometimes people end up single for a long time because they intuitively sense that people who are, oh, my dog is really, he is really distracting me. Even if I'm just watching a show and he starts barking at this time, like every evening, and this is really distracting. But anyway, I'm actually going to end this because he is really. I may have to come back and finish this because he's not being patient, or I have imposed too much on his time. I just put it that way. That is a more loving truth. I have imposed on his time, and it's probably due to the technical difficulties that I was having. But anyway, the point is, I want us all to be more mindful of when we are moving and shaking in the world. Are we doing it out of love, or is it love, pure love, or can we extract the lust out of that? Because when we extract the lust, we are closing the chasm of separation. We are fusing our soul with the great intelligence. This is what happens when you operate out of love. When you operate out of lust, you're impatient, you lose faith, your faith is weak, your beliefs are weak, you're not mindful of cause and effect, you're leaving a trail of tears, if you will, not in the great sense of what happened with the trail of tears, essentially, but you're leaving a trail of brokenness behind you that needs to be repaired, healed, reconciled. And you can do this without actually going to the people physically and, saying, hey, I want to talk about this, because sometimes hurt. Some things hurt people so much they don't ever want to see our faces again. But you can energetically heal these relationships. You can energetically repair these relationships. You can energetically reconcile these relationships by reconciling your relationship with your higher power. It starts there. And when you begin that reconciliation, you begin to see more of who you are at a cellular level, at a soul level, and you begin to heal and reconcile with yourself, right? And as you're reconciling with yourself and bonding with your higher power, the reconciliation of others, that work begins. And I think that is the great work. It's expanding our consciousness. Many of the things that we are blocked from, that we have found almost nearly impossible to break through, is a result of relationships. And if that, was a tidbit that if anyone could have told me or shared with me in my youth, I'm pretty sure I would have made a lot of different decisions, because what I saw, that wasn't relationship. That was impatience. It was selfishness. It was fear. It was, it was a lot of low vibrational things, and definitely void of the acknowledgement of cause and effect, at least in terms of building on love. So one might say, well, how do you move forward with that? You go on, you have children, you have relationships. You step outside your comfort zone. You observe other people, other relationships. You ask questions, get curious. There is a group of people that I worked with in my younger years, and I won't say, but one thing I noticed about this group is they were always showing, affection towards one another. Yes, there was conflict. Yes, there was killing. Yes, there was all kinds of things, but there was a culture of physical affection within the family, within the community, within the brethren in and of itself. And I like that. And on another example, I went into a home where they just seemed like there was nothing but chaos everywhere. Stuff was everywhere. Children were screaming and yelling. It was just chaos everywhere. But do you know what I saw in that chaos? I saw when the food was ready, the mother was like, come here, have this, taste this, try this. there wasn't this screaming and shouting and no, you can't have this and you're so greedy. And it's none of that. It was so much gentleness and so much generosity and so much love. And I sat there totally like, my mind was blown. I was like, how am I looking at what appears to be chaos and there's nothing but pure love here? Whereas the environment I was used to looked like sheer order, everything in its place. And it was nothing but chaos and hatred. Such a stark difference. So the goal is to build on love and do it without lust. If we as a people start extracting lust out of our actions and behaviors and our thoughts, we start dealing, some of us have locks there, like this is how you deal with the opposite sex. That's a lock. That's locked into their subconscious. That's locked into their programming, locked into the conditioning. And I'm not saying it's just men, females too, because you can have this interaction with the opposite sex so much that you, in turn, can act out of lust. And again, I said lust is also based out of fear. Fear being alone, growing alone. I'll put up with anything just to not be alone. But that self-love makes it easier to break those negative bonds and go within and start the real work, the inner healing, the inner reconciliation with your higher power. That's where that begins. Okay? So my doggy has given me some grace and calm down. So I'm going to end it here, beloveds. What I'll have you do is do the breathing exercise on your own after the video, and go into meditation. And I want you to ask, what is the difference between love and lust? And see what you get. Be patient. The answers are going to come. Get in a quiet space and ask that question. What is the difference between love and lust? And what that ends up meaning for you. And if you will, reply in the comments below. I will absolutely respond to you. Okay? I love you. Thank you for your patience through all of this. I appreciate you. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All right? Peace, peace.